Week show, and we're coming to you live from Barbados. Good afternoon there. Hi, how are you doing? This is Marcia Weeks, and you are watching the Marcia Week show. And we are coming to you live from Barbados, right here in the Caribbean, beautiful Caribbean. And I can see that there are a couple of you who are on already, and we're going to ask you to share. Today, we have something so important for you. You know, we always bring you good stuff. So, we have something very important for you today. We're talking about the medicinal cannabis industry. And I know we hear all these terminologies being bandied about, and people are, talking about this. But what is this industry really all about? And we're going to look at some opportunities and the strategies for success. Yes. And I know some of you are asking, how do I get involved, right? You have many questions. How do I get involved in this industry, right? What is involved, how do I what are the challenges, and so some of the challenges that we're going to deal with today, it's insurance. We're going to look at insurance, we're going to look at banking, the ability to raise capital. We know that is always a challenge, especially for us here in the Caribbean region. And we're looking at security. I'm sure you know why. Security and compliance in each country. So these are some of the challenges that we are going to discuss today, and we're going to look at how we're going to solve them. Welcome to those who are watching. Those I see people are logging on. Those who are watching on Carivision, let me say to you, welcome. Today we are being broadcasted into 16 different Caribbean countries. So my friends in Montserrat, hi, how you doing? In Jamaica, St. Lucia, great to have you guys. Today it's going to be quite and a very interesting show, very educational as well, especially for those of you who are interested in the cannabis industry. And we are going to this whole show today, really and truly, it is being sponsored by fintech. And fintech is a catch-all term referring to software, mobile applications, and other technologies that are created to improve and automate traditional forms of finance for businesses and customers alike. And guess what, guys? They're taking all of that expertise and all of that technology, and they are bringing it to the cannabis industry. And this is so very important. Okay, so we're going to ask you guys to share. Let people know that we're on, and we have some amazing guests lined up for you. So in the meantime, guys, please share. Hey, welcome. Yes, from Antigua. Wonderful. Great. Please share, Mitzi. Wonderful. Great to see you. But let's hear a little bit about fintech at this moment.
Very specialized space where most are learning the ropes. You are in a very specialized space where most are learning the ropes as they build out operations. This takes time, and mistakes may be made in the process. You have two options. 1. You can endeavor to manage the entire process from seed to sale, inclusive of managing the ancillary services. Or 2. You can engage a specialized organization to manage all the critical aspects of your operation, allowing you to focus on your core activity. Contact OSSI for comprehensive support in your medicinal cannabis business. Email ossi.barbados@outlook.com, or book a consultation on our Facebook page. We will be pleased to provide the services you require. For further information, please visit our website at www.pilecom.net.
And throughout this broadcast, we're going to give you again. We're going to make sure we review the contact information for those of you who are interested. And I can tell, I know that people are interested in this industry. So if you know anybody who is wondering how they can get involved in the cannabis industry, please share the link, share the live with them. Those who are wondering, do I have enough expertise? Can I get involved? If I, what would be involved? What would I need in order to be involved? How do I protect my product? What are the proposed security measures? You know what? And so we're going to talk about some of those things today. How do I navigate around the banking challenges? Is that you? You want to know about that? So please, guys, share. This is very important. And insurance. Do you have provisions for insurance? All of these are important. What are the options available for sourcing capital? And so all of these will be discussed. And we have with us today Mr. Christopher Der Gregorian, and he's a cash logistics consultant and CEO of Covert Armored Services. He has over 15 years in cash logistics business and will explain the fintech solution as a way of to address the management of cash and transactions in the medicinal cannabis industry. We also have Mr. Daniel Reading. He's a broker specializing in coverage for high risk industries, including cannabis. He's based in Texas, USA. We have Mr. Charles Pyle, consultant for over 15 years. He's the president of OSSI, an organization dedicated to the success of the industry in the region. Charles will discuss the administrative, compliance, logistics, and security need for successful operations in the medicinal cannabis industry. And there is Mr. David Jordan. I'm sorry, Mr. Terry Gamble, Mr. Terry Gamble, who is he is a business advisor, and he be just summarizing the opportunities and the input that is required today. And I think I made a mistake there. It's Mr. David Jordan, Mr. David Jordan, who is with us today. So let me just introduce and our esteemed panel with us here today, Mr. Christopher de Gregorian. Did I get it right? Yes,
Mouthful.
yes.
Yes, it's a mouthful.
And there's Mr. Daniel Reading. This one is easier.
Thank you. Thank you.
And Mr. Doyle, Mr. Oriel Doyle.
Greetings, greetings.
Yes, welcome. And Mr.
In a country where none.
Sorry, that's Mr. Mr. Charles Pyle. Charles Pyle.
Good afternoon, everyone.
Okay, I'm murdering all the names, but guys, this is so great to have you here today to talk about something which is very, very important to the Caribbean. Over the years, most of the Caribbean islands, they have tourism has been our mainstay, and we are seeing what has happened even in the last 2 years. Here in Barbados, Mr. Pyle can attest to that, where there was a time when we weren't seeing any tourists. And so many are wondering, what are we going to turn to? And so it is a very, very important. I think that we are discussing a topic like this today. I know, Mr. Christopher, that you're looking at it from a different angle. You're talking about the us coming together, actually a cooperative, right?
Yes.
Yes. So can you talk to us about that, and how do you see that in solving some of the problems that we're going to have, or the challenges that we are foreseeing in the cannabis industry?
Well, the way we've been very successful here in the United States is bringing complete solutions to the cannabis industry when dealing with the financial needs and dealing with the cash logistics. And that is bringing together armored courier service, the financial institutions, as well as insurance and security services, bringing a full package and a complete solution instead of trying to piece things together.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Right. So you and you talk about the US, and I suspect you guys are so much further ahead than us. And which state are you speaking of? Because I know throughout the US there are different stages, right? So
Well,
which
currently
stage?
there's 29 states that have legalized marijuana in either for medicinal purposes or for
Mm-hmm.
recreational or both.
Yeah.
So we're currently operating in all those states.
Mm-hmm.
The first state that we launched Expo Financial Services in was in Colorado, where
Yes.
we were very successful. And then we expanded into California, Arizona, and then into the other states.
Yes. And what are some of those solutions that your company has been offering to those in the cannabis industry in the US?
Okay, well, I can give you a full overview of the FinTech solution that we have put forth. So, I'm here, actually representing Expo Financial Services. So,
Mm-hmm.
what Expo Financial Services, it's a fintech company specializing in providing the financial services accounts to businesses that are bank challenged, the unbanked and underbanked. So, the financial industry is limited on what services it can provide to the cannabis or their cash intensive industries. So what we do it with Expo Financial Services is we provide a bank-like services, and we specialize in sectors or groups that are not necessarily suited to banks.
Mm-hmm.
So one of those businesses, obviously, is the cannabis industry. So Alliance Financial Network is the one who originally created Expo, and what Expo stands for is Electronic Exchange Portal. So this was to exchange U.S. currency for Expo credit. So
Mm-hmm.
Expo credit is extended only to members to transact business in a compliant membership network. And
Mm-hmm.
this takes the cash out of the economic system and creates a paradigm shift for the cash industries. So Expo was created in Colorado, April 25th, 2015. Um, and it was designed to open accounts for these high risk businesses.
Right.
Um, and so what we do is we are a fintech. So fintech businesses need access to banking services in order to provide the financial services to their customers. So although a fintech businesses open bank accounts, the BSA and the FinCEN here in the US and the federal banking agencies do not require or expect banks to serve as the de facto regulatory of the fintech businesses. So the bank is welcome to inquire about activity in our accounts at any time. And Expo Financial Services will be signed up for information sharing under the FinCEN Rule 314B. All right. So while banks are expected to manage risk associated with all accounts, according to the FFIEC guidance, banks will not be held responsible for their customers' compliance with the BSA and other applicable federal and state laws and regulations.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So basically, we're acting as a middleman between the banking system and the cannabis industry. And we're providing all of the same services that the banks would provide.
And I wanted to know just because I'm listening to you, and I'm really really curious, Christopher, because I want to know, do you see this working here in the Caribbean, because it is a high risk business. And I
Absolutely.
know I've spoken to people, and those are some of the concerns that they have. How do they bank? What do they do? Do you see this system or this solution that FinTech and OSSI is offering and has offered in the US? Do you see that working here in the Caribbean?
I see it as the best solution for the Caribbean. So yes, I do see it working.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I can go ahead and share some slides now if you'd like, so we can get a better visual of how
Yes.
Expo works. Let's see if we can get this on the screen.
Yes, and while we are setting up, the screen, guys, at this time, we're going to ask you to share and to let people know that that this is happening. Do you want to get involved in the cannabis industry? Do you understand what is involved in that? Do you know how to navigate the banking challenges? That is what Mr. Christopher is talking about. Mr. Greg Christopher is talking about today. That's what Christopher is talking about today. So I think this is so very, very important. And we have coming up, we have Mr. Daniel Reading is here with us as well, and we have Mr. Doyle is here with us as well, Mr. Pyle. And remember, guys, at the end of the show, we're open for questions, and so be ready with your questions. All right. Yes, be ready with your questions.
Sorry, we're having some technical difficulties here. Let me try
Some
to.
challenges there, and we're
Now
we're getting
I think we got it.
wonderful,
Okay.
wonderful. Yes, we did.
All right.
Yes, we did. We're right here.
And everybody see my screen now?
Oh, yes, we're seeing your screen.
Okay, excellent. So this gives you a little bit of the breakdown. So obviously we've talked about our Expo Online application, the electronic exchange portal. Expo provides businesses with opportunity to accept payment in cash, electronic, non-fluctuating currency, payment from credit and debit in a compliant manner without taking the consumer card, ACH, or wire. So each member receives a ledger. That works off of credit and debit. We have an app that works with Apple or Android. And through that app is where you, the consumer or the business, would control their account. So similar to any online banking portal that you currently have with your banking, it works in a similar manner.
So you're saying it's very friendly. It's easy to use.
Yes, it is very user friendly.
Yes, and this is what Christopher is saying to us, that this is being used by those in the cannabis industry within several of the states in the USA. And it started off in Colorado, and it has gone on to all the other, I think, 29 states in the US where cannabis is now legal. And because it's an high risk business, then there are some challenges with banking. And so here, OSSI and FinTech, they are offering solutions to these challenges. Are we?
Oh, and
Yes.
unfortunately, Marcia, it's not allowing me to control my screen right now. So
Yes.
I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing.
Okay.
And
Yes, but this is quite interesting, Christopher, that you have come up with this solution for the cannabis industry. And so those of you who are watching from wherever you are in the Caribbean, guys, I'm saying that this is going to be a lifesaver for the Caribbean. I believe it. We've been so dependent on tourism, but this is, I think there's a new day that is upon us, and this is important. But Miss Christopher, what about those the person who says, I want to get involved, but how do I go about raising the capital? Because we're talking here about banking and all of that. Do you guys, what happened? Do you give loans to people?
we are not currently in the process of giving loans. We are working on that solution to bring forth through our banking partners.
Yes.
But currently, no. I can let me go into a little bit more in depth about how Expo works, how the memberships, and how they can sign up.
Yes.
So there's different types of membership for Expo. So one is you have a consumer account where a KYC, which is know your customer review, is performed electronically before an account could be opened. Then you have your business account, which is an extensive application is completed. And we do a full compliance review, KYC, and internal risk assessment. And then we have a third-party on-site compliance assessments that are also conducted. And then there is a government account, which we have. So whenever sales taxes and fees are collected from members or government agencies can recognize Expo credit for collecting the taxes. So that's something else we do here in the U.S. with certain states. And then the credit is exchanged to their bank or Expo business member pays the taxes electronically via ACH, e-check, or wire. And then we have your ancillary suppliers to the cannabis industry. So we provide services to members and are paid via Expo credit or ACH, e-check, or wire through them. So we do full KYC due diligence and enhanced due diligence on all of our customers, just depending on what level of account you have, whether it's consumer or business, is the how much information that we're going to need. So it's very important for me to say that the cash to credit, okay? So it's a 1-to-1 ratio. So for here in the dollar, it's $1 for 1 Expo credit. So we're not dealing in any crypto currency here. It's a 1-to-1 ratio.
Okay.
Okay. So the mobile payment system that we have in place is for compliance as well. So everything is tracked to that mobile system. And we're able to provide that to any local, state, or federal level agencies. So to show them that we are being compliant. And there's a full audit payment system for transferring funds. So whenever the funds are transferred out of your account, whether you're paying your vendors, whether you're paying your employees, or transferring funds from one account to another, there's a complete compliant process there that's being done. And you can pay members that are outside the Expo membership network by sending e-check, ACH, or wires outside of your account. So they don't have to be Expo members.
Wow. So it's a full banking system.
It's a complete banking system.
Wow.
We do even offer smart safe solutions. So if you're looking for a solution on how to store your currency, if you're going through high volume of cash until our armored services come pick up that cash, we do have a smart safe solution to where they can deposit money into the smart safe. We communicate directly with the smart safe. We know when there's a cash pickup ready to be made, and we send the armored services out there to pick up the cash.
Wow. Wow, pretty. This is very extensive. Now, how long? I know. You said you started in Colorado, and because somebody listening to this and saying, is this thing safe? How long have you been in operation, Christopher?
It has been 7 years now. We started this in Colorado in 2015.
And I suspect it's been going fine there.
It's been going excellent because now we are currently operating in 6 states and expanding. We're able to offer services in 29, but we tend to try to roll out slowly so we don't overwhelm ourselves. It's a very large industry here within the United States, but we're able to offer services in all states where cannabis is legal here in the U.S.
Yes, and you at the moment you have not gone outside of the U.S. All of your operations, the banking operations, are in the U.S. at the moment.
Correct. This would be our first venture outside the U.S.
Wow, to the Caribbean. So those of you who are interested, you want to find out how to get involved in the cannabis industry, and you have all of these questions. What are you going to do? How to get started. This is a program for you. and we ask you to share. Let somebody know that that we are on. Well, Chris, just stand by. I'm going to ask Mr. Reading to jump into this
Howdy.
conversation. Yeah, because we're here talking about banking, and which I think is so relevant, for something that is so high risk. I don't think the average bank would be open to it. But Mr.
Exactly.
Reading, it makes me think about insurance.
Well, so I
Very,
think the
yeah, go ahead.
context with what Richard brought it up. So the year of 95, 94, 95 was a big year in the marijuana industry in the United States. A lot of things changed. And ultimately, states began to recognize the medicinal quality of marijuana and started to enact laws that allowed for medical marijuana to be available to the general population. Uh, and again, there's this distinct difference between medical marijuana and recreational marijuana, but essentially they're the same product, but they're licensed different and controlled substance difference. And ultimately, the overall arching thing is that the United States is still struggling with what to do with the legalization of marijuana on a federal level. So each state has been basically afforded the opportunity to create their own banking rules and regulations and processes about application fees, because they too are just building out a brand new industry. And that's another thing that's so important about what's happening here. This is a brand new industry. Even though marijuana has been grown and has been in the U.S., or has been in the foodstuffs for humans for over 10,000 years that we know of. So marijuana isn't new, but the commercialization of marijuana is what we're talking about, right? And so what this
Yes.
the changes of the laws in the Caribbean. So, and again, 94, you started to see some of the Caribbean nations change their rules about medical marijuana. And it wasn't until 2019 that Barbados passed its own laws to establish the BMCLA to create the overarching mission of creating a commercial medical marijuana industry. And the Barbados government has now enacted laws and regulations that are driving this change. And the reason that we're all here today is to talk about how those changes are creating an economic engine. And if you, Christopher, will attest to the economic engine of marijuana in Colorado, I mean, the enormous amount of tax revenues that have been generated through both the taxation and then all the ancillary stuff that goes along with
Wow.
the cannabis industry, right? So it's not just the cannabis industry; it's everything from your local electrician to your plumber. All these industries are being able to tap into the growth that's happening in the medical marijuana industry. So that the thing that's happening is that because it's a new industry, the insurance industry has been basically, it has taken a little while for since 94, Lloyd's of London pulled out of doing marijuana in the United States in its entirety. So the insurance industry was left to try and figure out how to do that on their own. And in the United
Right.
States, there's more than a couple handfuls of qualified insurance companies writing insurance for marijuana in the marijuana cannabis industry. Whereas outside the United States, it still is a relatively new economic engine. We're starting to
Correct.
see countries like Uruguay and Paraguay and Chile and Colombia and who basically are recognizing that the economic engine that is marijuana is something they should tap into, right? So the history of the illegality of it is fading away to the recognition that the economic boom that can occur with the right structures in place to allow this industry to grow and take it out of the shadows and move it to the forefront. So,
Yes.
we've been talking to people in South America who are now supplying medical marijuana to Europe. So 95% of all marijuana is consumed in the United States right now, but slowly but surely that's changing. Europe is becoming a huge medical marijuana opportunity. And I think what we're talking about today is how does the Caribbean, particularly Barbados, capitalize on this whole new industry. And what Christopher's talking about is really he's dealing with the tough parts, because not only is it just this historically underserved community, there's a huge stigma associated with marijuana. Still today, I'm old enough to remember when it, and it has come a long way in the last 10 to 15 years. And now people, and particularly when you have the insightfulness of the Barbadian government to recognize the engine that could, and Charles and OSSI have basically put together this panel of people who recognize what the industry can be, but you have to have some very specific tools at this point in time. Banking, obviously, really important. Insurance is another very important part of it, and we're just trying to do. We've been actually speaking to the local insurance industry in the Caribbean about this, and they're still very reluctant. The same people that insure your home or your auto are very reluctant to say, well, I'm in the business of insuring the cannabis industry. And what we're doing too for them is educating them on the point that this is not some sort of difficult class of business, because it's not technically difficult or any different than farmers and processors of lavender, or you just name all these other industries, farming industries that are basically growing and then processing and then refining. And now that hemp, weed, all this is a huge potential opportunity for these communities to really grow at the lowest level, basically incorporating the local farming economic community to help grow this. So what we've tried to do is compile some insurance ideas and participants who are familiar with the marijuana industry and are willing to provide insurance coverage for people in the business. Because again, too, you've got there's various forms of participants, right? Licenses that you can acquire in Barbados, right? You have a license to cultivate, process, retail, transport, export, import. All of these licenses are part of the process of getting legitimate in the medical marijuana business. So, and each one of these is a different kind of business. Like if I'm a farmer, I'm a lot different than the guy that takes the cannabis and processes it down to either the flower or we extract, right? And then there's this whole industry about extracting hemp and hemp oil or cannabis and cannabis oil, and some of it can be very, very technical. But it is nonetheless, in my opinion, a very worthwhile industry to support. And we have a panel of insurers based in Europe who are very much familiar with what we're trying to do, because they're in Canada right now. A lot of those same companies are doing kind of a hands length interest in the United States, because again, Europe, Lloyd's doesn't really want to do marijuana for whatever reason. And so we believe we have the tools to put together the kinds of insurance that this industry needs and is going to require. So we're always happy to answer questions. We really appreciate, Marcia, you having us on. Really, I think this is an outstanding opportunity to inform people about what's happening in this industry, and they need to be informed and engaged, not only with their representatives, but with the people that are trying to make this industry grow. So stay engaged.
Yeah. Well, Mr. Reading, thank you so much. And I believe that those who are interested, who are watching in the different Caribbean islands, guys, I believe you're hearing some solutions here today. All right. So we are presenting to you some banking solutions, insurance solutions. And we have Mr. Doyle here. And Mr. Doyle, you're the man that everybody wants to know. Listen, I want to get involved. How do I go about raising capital? I've got to get some capital in order for me to start. So, Mr. Doyle, how do we go about that?
Well, first and foremost, the cooperative sector, which I'm part of over the years has been demonstrating the capability of ordinary people to pull together and put their financial resources together in an effort to assist each other. This has been happening now in Barbados since the mid-1950s, and it has mushroomed out of the period of the 1980s, when it was recognized that when you pool your financial resources, there are significant benefits to be derived. So the credit union movement in particular, having recognized that it is something that could be of significant benefit to the ordinary working class person, they've managed to capture the imagination of most Barbadians during that period. And today, it is my understanding that the movement's resources now is in excess of $1 billion. Now, for a working class group, that is a major and significant achievement. But must remember that the credit unions, though, are just one part of the cooperative sector. So what we are supporting is that if we are in a position to pool our financial resources and create these very strong financial institutions, why not pull together our other resources and begin to tackle significant industries that we in Barbados and the region would want to support. So in this new initiative, this is one area in which you can find, once everything is in order, that the ordinary individual, not having the significant resources that may be required through the licensing process, may be able to join forces with others, and including other institutions, to see if they can make a serious effort at maximizing and utilizing these opportunities. Now, there is a clip that I want to show you, which is an indication as to how...
Percent of the financial services industry is foreign-owned.
That's it, go ahead.
This is a clip that you want to show?
Yes, before I say anything else, I defer to you.
Okay.
Financial empowerment through cooperation. Introducing the Cooperative Investment Fund. The Cooperative Investment Fund is Barbados's newest investment fund, created for the purpose of financially empowering Barbadians, expanding credit union services, and investing in our local cooperatives. The fund enables investments in strategic sectors of our economy, affordable housing which offer top-notch, best quality constructions, and enables expanding ownership, sustainable energy products which aim to reduce long-term costs within a clean, green environment, and digital payment system, which includes co-op debit, credit cards, and digital wallets. This will allow our members to access financial services using state-of-the-art technology. Our affordable housing products include the Southview project in Christchurch, 30 homes valued at over $15 million, and our soon-to-be completed Heritage Estate in St. Philip, with 12 homes valued at $5 million. These will serve to empower Barbadians and provide strong foundations for growing families.
The Cooperative Investment Fund has so far made a significant contribution to various aspects of the Barbadian economy. Initially, with our investment portfolio, we have introduced a range of investment vehicles that provide way above the returns that are normally provided by other institutions in the investment arena. In addition to that, the fund have contributed significantly to employment, in most of the projects that we have, employment in excess of 20 or 30 persons on our housing projects. With the aspect of the housing component, we have also added significantly to the housing stock of Barbados, not only in the area of middle income but also lower income as well. The most significant aspect of our operation so far is the introduction of our digital payment system. We have, over the past 2 or 3 years, been searching for a solution that would provide an opportunity for the cooperative sector to emerge as one of the major players in our economy. The digital payment system that we are introducing is new to Barbados and its territory in that no other institution offers what we are introducing to Barbadians. With the use of the cell phone, individuals can continue to do their financial services in a way that no other institution can provide.
My name is Keith Downer, Chairman and CEO of the MyReady Cash. We look forward to this awesome opportunity to partner with the Barbados Cooperative Investment Fund to bring digital payments to Barbados. We expect to be able to grow the membership for the cooperatives, the credit unions, and the Barbados Cooperative Investment Fund as we bring these services to the Barbados population at large.
So we entreat you to take a serious look at the Cooperative Investment Fund. Its contribution so far indicates clearly that we have only just begun. The Cooperative Investment Fund, to my mind, is the only way to go.
Visit our website at cifbb.com or contact us for more information at info@cifbb.com. The Cooperative Investment Fund, financially empowering its members, one investment at a time.
Wow.
Yes.
That is really it's really great to see the work that you're doing, and the fact that you are willing to associate with the cannabis industry and provide a solution. Because I've heard, you hear people talking about wanting to get involved, but the licensing fees are so out of reach for a lot of people. And so with the cooperative investment fund, you're proposing, Mr. Doyle, that this might be one of the ways that we could do it together. We might not be able to do it by ourselves, but we can, we come and we're part of something greater than ourselves in order to take advantage of this economic engine for the Caribbean.
Yes, Marcy. In fact, one of the initiatives being spearheaded by our government here in Barbados is to encourage the formation of cooperatives in an effort to get more Barbadians involved in the industry. Of course, there are some areas that we are not too certain of at this stage, but especially in the initial stages in relation to licensing and that kind of thing, those areas which the investment is significant. We believe that once you can create a cooperative approach to doing this, that the Corporate Investment Fund will lend some support, especially in the startup areas in terms of the licensing component.
Wow.
So there could be some support in the corporate sector once all the required permissions are given, and once individuals who are involved recognize the importance of working together to benefit all, not just to benefit one, but working together to benefit everyone. I think we can provide some measure of support in that area.
Yeah, and is this something, Mr. Doyle? Are other Caribbean countries, involved the cannabis industry? Is it connected to cooperatives and working together with cooperatives? Is this a model throughout the Caribbean, or just common to Barbados?
But as far as I am aware, this is a unique model, and in particular, if you just look closely at the clip, the area in relation to digital payments.
Yes.
This is the first in the Caribbean to be able to offer this kind of service, and which, if you look at it closely, could facilitate some measure of payments within the system if it is allowed. So this is a unique method, and we are in the process of launching what we call the Ready Cash initiative, which will enable Barbadians at large to utilize modern technology in the payment system by using their cell phones to actually transact business rather than standing a long line on the streets in the weather just trying to do basic transactions. So you can have a farmer in the field paying someone by just staying in the field and using their cell phone. So this is the kind of technology that we are bringing, and as you can see, if that is workable, it will provide some support to those individuals who may be considering getting involved in the medicinal cannabis industry, that we're making payments easier. And most importantly, though, you can have a farmer here in Barbados pay someone in St. Vincent via the same platform, right? Once the requisite central bank permissions are provided. Or you're going to have someone in the market in Barbados paying someone in St. Lucie, which is the north of the country, at the click of a button and the funds are flowing instantly. So you can see that what we are bringing to the table is putting the movement, putting payments in the forefront of economic development in this country. Because let's face it, only way that we can be demonstrating some level of development is to completely go digital. And the
Yes,
cooperative sector is fully behind that initiative.
that's powerful. That's powerful. I'm here thinking, Mr. Christopher, how does does this work with what you're proposing for the Caribbean? Because Mr. Doyle is talking about payments, and there's some banking a banking section of what he's talking about. How does that work with what you are suggesting?
Well, it's very similar to what we are suggesting as well. All everything would be electronic. So basically, our goal would be take the cash out of the industry, and though completely cashless. So everything would be transferred within the network with the consumer, the customers, as well as the businesses via electronic transfers.
Right. So it is pretty similar. Okay.
Correct.
Yes. Okay. Wonderful. We just have a little clip here that we're gonna play, and while we're doing this, guys, if you can start sending in your questions. Those of you who are listening, you have any questions? Please go ahead and write them in the comment section, and so that our able guests here will be able to answer the questions you may have. But just enjoy this a little clip from us.
Security Solutions Inc. High-value facilities require protection in depth. Fences and barriers mark the limits of public access and deter intruders. Fences are an element of perimeter security solutions, and integrate with sensor technologies for the protection of property. Physical security is layered and based on the 4D concept of deter, detect, delay and deny. The approach to protection is designed either on an outside-in or an inside-out philosophy. OSSI developed the Olympian Control Room Surveillance Management System, OCSMS, to detect, manage and report on properties under our protection. These may be solar farms, cannabis operations, substations, cell sites, or other high-value installations. Our solutions detect and delay within a timeline that allows effective response by using state-of-the-art military-grade components. OCSMS is a convergence framework which integrates subsystems into a cohesive solution which reduces operational expenses, increases ROI, and achieves several other benefits. The screens are intuitive and provide our monitors with the resources they need for command and control. The security reporting principles of what happened, how it happened, where it happened and instructions on what to do, are all satisfied by OCSMS. We have 3 product options, which address all possible site configurations. OCSMS's integration polls all senses through its AI, and is controlled from a single hardware device. Olympian Security Solutions Inc. Protection of your assets, and so much more. Visit our website and drop us an email. We will be happy to discuss the security and logistics requirements for your operations. Thank you for your attention.
That's quite informative, because I think the area of security is quite important. Especially, I don't know about anybody anywhere else, Christopher, but here in in Barbados, farmers are having a tough time. So can you imagine when we think, Mr. Doyle, of cannabis? How important security is. And on that note, I'm going to ask Mr. Charles Pyle. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm going to have Mr. Charles Pyle with us today, and in the studio with us, and he's going to talk about administration. Right, he's going to talk to us about security and what OSSI is proposing. I'm picking up. You're going from the seed right up to the banking, to the accounting system, right? So in dealing with all of that, there's a lot of administration that needs to happen. Compliance, which is another big thing, quite very, very important. And I've heard people talk about that. And for some people, it's a little daunting, or it's a little intimidating, when they think about the compliance, etc. So, Mr. Pyle, what can you add to that? What can you say to those who feel intimidated by the compliance and so on?
Okay, thank you again, and again, welcome to all viewers throughout the region. OSSI is an organization that deals with the logistics and support for the medicinal cannabis industry. In this regard, we've put together a team of experts in various disciplines: um, financial, investment, insurance coverage, logistics, cash logistics, operational logistics, and things like fencing, um, security shutters, renewable energy for remote sites that need power and don't have easy access to the grid. Um, ground clearing for the clearing for the excavation of areas, um, as it relates to either construction of facilities or the preparation for cultivation. So what we try to do is to put together a group of expertise in a consortium, all operating through Olympian Security Solutions, that provide all of the necessary services for a one-stop solution. So people who may be daunted by various requirements, and as noted, the requirements need to be very stringent. The compliance needs to be very stringent. The reporting needs to be very stringent, um, because of the nature of the industry. And what we've done is we've set up a whole bunch of services to provide comprehensive solutions for the medicinal cannabis industry. Last but not least, certainly not least, will be the security element of 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 the industry, of this space, because as you quite rightly say, pre larceny is a significant problem here in Barbados. And having been involved with agricultural security for some time, there's a lot of frustration on people investing time and money and growing crops, and then come time to harvest, maturation, people steal it. You know, so we are very familiar with the issues and the frustrations of farmers. The technology to protect farmers is, of course, basically the same type of methodology that we would use to protect cannabis fields, but they're both wide area protection projects. But of course, the grade of equipment for cannabis is not significantly higher. One of the drawbacks of agricultural protection is that the grade of the equipment needed for agricultural protection is very similar to the grade of protection needed for cannabis cultivation, and that is a very high grade. That's a military grade type solution, which of course implies some significant cost. And farmers have not been willing to invest in that cost, because the value of the product that they're protecting was not worth it.
Right.
In view of cannabis, however, both from the legislative side, the mandated security that you have to have, as well as from your own personal side, somebody can take away 4 or 5 plants, and that's a significant amount of money that you have lost. So you've got to really put down the protective regimes to make sure that the industry is protected, that nothing that is grown legally can be stolen and sold on the illicit market. These are the rules and regulations that have been set down, primarily in the 2020 Medicinal Cannabis Act, which complements the medicinal cannabis regulation, which complements the Medicinal Cannabis Act of the prior year. And that will give all the operational requirements for security and for reporting and all this kind of stuff. So if you have an issue or a challenge or concern, or if you just need a comfort zone, OSSI provides a range of services starting from your business type analyses, your feasibility study, your business plan, your strategic plan, right through to all your compliance documents for submission to the Barbados Medicinal Cannabis Licensing Authority. They expect certain documentation in a certain format, and the documentation has got to be correct. If it is not correct, they're going to have to send it back for clarification or correction. You know, very simple common mistakes like certain documents need to be certified and they are not, will cause your application to be put on hold until you correct those issues. So what we do is we try to stop people from wasting the time. We will develop those documents for them. We will make sure that they're compliant, that all the compliance issues have been addressed, which range from the actual operational compliance. And we also try to provide solutions for some of the challenges like financial transfers and protection from damage, whether it be natural disaster or man-made disaster for the industry, so that everything is basically in a very comfortable zone for the practitioner who wants to be able to concentrate on their core business. You know,
Correct.
I'm not saying that they're not capable, but they're not going to have the time. There are a lot of other things, especially in the initial stages of build out, that it's gonna take up all their time. Developing the right strains to be grown in Barbados, you know, dealing with the actual build out infrastructure and stuff. They're not gonna have a lot of time for all the administrative stuff. So we are set up to deal with that on a very cost effective basis, because you're looking at doing it for several clients, and you know, providing your reporting and your track and trace and all this kind of stuff, so that when you submit to the regulatory body, you are on point, and you don't get into any issues with that.
So you are making sure that the average person is able to participate and to be part of this industry. You're
Yeah,
going to, it's like a one-stop shop.
it is, and you know, we're hoping that everyone can get involved, whether you be a small investor or a large investor. We're trying to provide. Um, we have a program called the MVP, the multi-vector platform, where people can come on board and they can register. It's basically a confidential database. So investors will register. Um, People who want to get involved but they don't have the capital to get involved can come on board, and we try to mesh people, the demand and the supply side, whether that demand and supply be in the financial area, whether that be in the procurement of seeds and stuff, the linking up with specific expertise in various areas. We've got a very competent and experienced agronomist on board with some experience um, in the actual cultivation needs for the medicinal cannabis industry. So we have all of the assets on board in a framework of collaboration. Each of the particular collaborators is an expert in his own area. We are not trying to be a jack of all trades, and they're not being a master of none, right? Um, we are masters at each of the trades because we have experts in each of the trades, you know, and that is
And I mean, you
that
have a
works in a
great
political
network
framework.
here. Yeah,
Yeah,
you have a network here
we
with
have the
Mr.
network.
Reading
We have
and
the network.
Christopher and Doyle and the the others, and so they're able to offer that support.
Yeah.
Well, I want to I'm asking if there are anybody with any questions, because I don't know, Christopher, if this is what happened in the U.S. initially, but I could tell you that in the Caribbean here, I'm from Jamaica, right? And in Jamaica, when you talk about marijuana, all that comes to mind is, one, people going to jail, people being locked up, people being beaten up. And so there's been a lot of abuse that has occurred. as it relates to marijuana in the Caribbean. And in our minds, even though you hear it's legalized, I think people are a bit timid. So I don't know, Christopher, is this what happened in the U.S. where people were timid about being involved in this industry?
Well, absolutely, and they still are. The problem we have here in the U.S. is that cannabis is, while it's legal in the certain state levels, it's not legal on the federal level. So it is still considered a Scheduled One substance here, which makes it illegal. So this makes a lot of financial institutions nervous. That's why they don't want to deal with the cannabis industry. Although the FinCEN has put forth guidelines for them to be able to do that, they still shy away from it because of all the enhanced due diligence they have to do. So that's the biggest challenge here in the U.S. because it's not cohesive. Each and every state is basically doing their own thing. So it's the wild, wild west. It's a trial and error. So, what Charles is trying to do and to bring one cohesive package into the Caribbean from the beginning, you're going to solve all those problems that we're having here in the U.S. If everybody's on the same page, it's just going to make things so much easier and much more cohesive. And it's not going to be the wild, wild west where, Barbados is doing this thing and St. Vincent is doing this thing. And it's so if everyone could get on the same page with all these services and this one, cohesive solution, it's going to solve all your problems from the beginning.
Yeah, I mean that would be wonderful, And I heard Mr. Reading talk about, this is could provide economic relief for the Caribbean, and he called it an economic engine. And I for one, I'm one of those that really believe in that. But I want to know, Mr. Reading, have you been speaking to any of the insurance industries in the Caribbean? Because I know you've been talking to those in Canada, but have you reached out to them, to those in the Caribbean, and what has been if you have, the kind of response that you've been getting?
Oh, well, we have, and with the help of Charles, we've reached out to the local Caribbean insurance market, and again, for the reluctance of the commercial industry. One of the problems Christopher deals with is that because it's federally illegal in the United States, the banks are hamstrung on what they think they can do in respect to handling money from marijuana industries. It's very difficult, quite complicated, even now. So one of the beauties of what's happening in the Caribbean is that it's becoming legal, right? It's now legal in Barbados, period, end of story. All the historical histrionics about what marijuana is or was, it's legal now, right? So what we're really trying to do is to foment this industry really from the ground up to create this economic engine for the people of Barbados and the Caribbean in general. And this is where it is so important that this team that we've kind of compiled here of people all working towards a reasonable solution, a reasonable economic solution, because ultimately it behooves the government to see this industry grow, because ultimately what we're talking about here is more tax dollars, right? That's the whole thing, is to create an economic engine to create more revenue, right? Because they expect it to be 20% of the GDP, or the Barbadian government has stated they want medical marijuana to be at least 20% of the GDP, right? So how they do that is to bring along an industry that has no historical foothold in the light of day. Certainly marijuana has been grown illicitly throughout the Caribbean forever, but now there's this recognition of this tool they have, this thing, this cannabis weed that can basically grow at almost anywhere because it's fundamentally a weed, right? So, and then they're turning that weed into an economic engine, right? The medical marijuana is just one aspect of it. But, when you start talking about growing cannabis, there's all the not just the bud, but the stalk and the hemp, all of the byproducts of cannabis plant are potentially usable materials for driving economic opportunity. And this is where the government has finally, I live in Texas and we don't have legal marijuana, medicinal or recreational, whereas Christopher in Colorado, they went ahead and changed the laws and created a specific taxing authority, which is really the impetus for the weed industry, is to create a taxing base. And all of a sudden, Colorado's generating billions of dollars in additional revenue through their use of this simple plant as a means to because the two parts of it, the medicinal and the recreational, and in the States they're bifurcated, but really the long haul research on medical marijuana and the use of cannabinoids in the foodstuffs as a health has just begun to blossom. I mean, we're still learning about what the long-term medicinal benefits of using this plant are, even though we know that it does have beneficial properties, right? But we're starting to see how businesses can capitalize on that. Hence, this idea of what Charles and all of us have tried to put together is this formalized process to help generate the economic engine that is cannabis. And ultimately, in the states, it really is frustrating. And Christopher can speak specifically to this. Is that you have businesses in California that want to export but are forbidden because it's illegal to transport marijuana across state lines. So if they want to do business in Washington State or New York State, they literally have to replicate their operations, physical operations, in another location because they can't transport across state lines. So the United States is not a great model for this in some ways, but it is the basis for which we are seeing how the potential economics of the industry are really huge. And this is where we're trying to get our foothold in early to discuss all of these key issues: insurance, banking, property ownership, cooperatives. This is where the community needs.
Yes. Marcy, I just want to
seed to accounting, from seed to accounting. You were saying something, Mr. Pyle?
Yeah, I just wanted to clarify and be very exact with something that Daniel said. Yes, cannabis for medicinal purposes is legal in Barbados. Cannabis for recreational purposes is not legal. It remains illegal in Barbados. The only product, that cannabis product that is legal in Barbados is medicinal cannabis, which is a pharmaceutical product, and sacramental cannabis, which is tied to the beliefs and religions of certain groups, primarily the Rastafarian group. They do not fall under the BMCLA, they fall under the Attorney General's office, and I believe that's done on a case-by-case basis. And they get their permission to grow sacramental cannabis from the Attorney General's office. If you are doing it on the commercial pharmaceutical scale, you need to get permission from the BMCLA, right?
Mr. Pyle, listening to you, and you're talking about medicinal and purposes and medicinal legalization and all of that. I'm thinking of growing up in Jamaica. And before we had all of this discussion here, and Daniel is saying we're discovering all of the medicinal. Listen, we always knew that it was medicine. And my grandmother, every home had some underneath their bedding with some alcohol in it, some brandy or something. And you use it for so many, from asthma to so many different issues that we have. So I've listened to the whole thing to me about medicinal and recreation. It seems a little hypocritical, to be honest, because I have always known that all of it, the entire plant, is medicine, and like anything else, it can be abused. So
Right.
it seems a little strange. But let me ask Mr. Doyle. Mr. Doyle, I'm particularly interested in what your presentation today, because I would like to see the average person in the Caribbean, especially some of those who are beaten up on the street and locked away in the prison, and who to this day can't not even allowed to use the weed. You're providing an opportunity for the average Barbadian to be involved, and I think that that is so important. And so can you just I think we lost him there. But I'm just saying, that it is so important that to have the average person involved in this process. Okay, so very important. There are so many of our young men I know who are still in jail today. And but here, there are people who are going to come and they're going to benefit financially from it, because while in Barbados we have medicinal marijuana is illegal, but we have not talked about the records of those Barbadians who were locked up. So I'm very happy to see Mr. Doyle. He's back in, and what he's offering for the average Barbadian. So, Mr. Dodd, can you repeat for us what you're offering for the average Barbadian who heard about these licenses and just the fees alone? People can't afford that. So, what are you offering, Mr. Dodd?
Okay, just let me be. What I'm saying here is that the opportunities are there for those individuals who are eager and willing to participate in the medicinal industry and who are not in a position to secure the requisite financing by virtue of the, the, the level of fees that are required, that they should consider looking at the formation of cooperatives. And in so doing, they are in a position then to put together the financing required that would allow them to either get involved in the purchase or the leasing of land, as well as the securing of the licensing fees. All right. So our role, the role of the cooperative at this stage, I think, would be to encourage the farming component of it, to
Yes.
assist those who are willing to get into the industry and are not able to do so by virtue of the fees involved, that we can provide them with a roadmap that would allow them to secure or at least create the financing mechanism that would allow them to participate in the industry. Obviously, our role would be to, if they are providing viable projects to us, and they are in a position then to show that it is profitable. This is where the fund would come in addition to helping them either purchase the land, lease the land, or whatever. Well, our role is not at the back end of it. We are more so at the front end where people wanted to set up and start. All right, so we're not really too close to the actual rudiments of the industry in terms of the sale and that kind of thing. So we're just
Right.
encouraging the formation of cooperatives, all right, just like for any other industry. Because don't forget, the cooperative sector in Barbados is made up of farmers as usual. Then there's the retail sector in terms of persons involved in marketing their products. Then there's obviously the transportation sector as well. So the medicinal industry farmers, if they're in the position to do so, they can look seriously at forming cooperatives in pursuit of some of these objectives. And the technical support will be provided, I think. And I think that, and I am fully aware that the government is also supporting the formation of cooperatives in order to maximize the benefits to be derived. All right. So
Yes.
Not that the investment fund is spearheading this initiative in terms of financing. What I'm doing here is to providing individuals who may be interested an opportunity that they can utilize the cooperative approach to
I
achieving
see.
their involvement in the industry.
Mhm.
I hope that makes sense to you.
Marcia, also, you know, people continually talk about the prohibitive fees. I just want to make a point. The fees as a one-time investment do appear to be high, but when you really look at it, the fees are for a 5-year period. So when you pay that fee for tier one, 20 something $1,000 for tier one license, and then the $1,000 fee on top of that, let's say you spend $25,000, you have to pay 60% of that on application, and you are given 2 years in 3 payments to pay off the balance. So you know you're well into your cycle of profitability to help defer that cost. In a lot of other countries, you got to pay every year. In Barbados, you pay once every 5 years. So if you look at it from I mean, ORIEL as an accountant will know. If you look at it from that point of view, and you are distributing your costs over a period of 5 years, it is not as ridiculous as it looks up front. People will go, oh, that's too much, you know. But when you really look at it from a business standpoint, it's really not that bad, right? The necessity of providing an institution like CIF with a business plan and cash projections and all this kind of stuff. The OSSI can provide those services to assist people in giving the correct documentation to any financial institution or investor that they want to go to. That's one of
Okay.
the services we offer. And the other thing I really wanted to touch on was I want to remove any ideas of conflict between Christopher's solution, which is specific to the medicinal cannabis industry end to end and deals with the challenges, especially when you're dealing with cross-border transfers through Federal Reserve territory. That solution is specifically designed for the medicinal cannabis industry. I had the pleasure of attending the meeting for My Ready Cash, which is a outstanding solution. But that's a consumer solution, which the participants in the industry can use at the consumer level. We've even gone as far. I spoke to the CEO. We've even gone as far as to conclude that the fintech type solution is the best solution for operational cannabis maneuvers, and the My Money Cash is good for your own personal or small business, non cannabis related business. Because of the peculiarities of the cannabis industry, you need to have a specialized setup, which is what the fintech partners have
Right, but they
to do with
offer,
that.
and for
Right,
export, and when you're doing export
precisely.
and all of that, which I believe that we are going to be involved in. But we only
Right.
have 5 minutes left, and I think people are listening. The challenge is, as I said, it is something that that there is a general, it's not a fear, but a suspicion about it. And I think that that is still there, within the Caribbean, which is, such a pity. But Christopher, as we close, can you take a minute and just say some final words to the audience?
Well, I mean, going back to, taking an example from, how things are happening here in the U.S. and the challenges that we have, bringing a complete cohesive solution to all the islands from the beginning is just going to save a lot of headaches going forward. So I thank Charles for bringing us all together. I think, this has been very informative for everyone. And I think we should be pushing forward as a team to bring these complete solutions to the Caribbean.
Okay, wonderful. And Mr. Reading, what can you say to even our governments? As it relates to this industry truly becoming that economic engine behind these Caribbean islands. You
You're muted, Dan.
Yeah, one of the things we've experienced in the States is because every state of the 50 states is doing it differently, it's created quite a bit of conflict, right? But ultimately, I think the process of legalizing medicinal marijuana is the beginning of the recognition by the governments and the authorities that this tool, this thing, this plant can be regenerative, sustainable, and it can actually benefit all of the communities involved. Because again, it's not just the guy that is growing it or processing it. He requires services across the board, from accounting to plumbing to everything else. When your business is up and running, you require additional help and services outside of your specific industry, and this is the economic engine that we've seen states like Colorado. Oklahoma is another interesting economic engine that could. Illinois, they did it completely different. Each state has regulated this process differently, but ultimately, I think it behooves the community to engage with their elected officials about how this works and how do I get engaged. And it is in many ways the recognition that some of the prior acts were I don't want to get too political, but you're right. The idea that people are incarcerated for this, that now that it is semi-self what legal, it is a particular odd conversation. But again, too, we're all growing and learning through this. And again, as you bring these professionals together, they can help people understand what it is that they're doing, and know that there's a huge community outside of the Caribbean that's already engaged in the economic model that is marijuana. I mean, you can look
Yeah.
to countries outside of the Caribbean who are beginning to tap into this huge, which is one of the reasons that Charles and I met, was that the whole idea of this international trade is the future, right?
Correct.
You're no longer isolated at the end of the archipelago there. You are now part of a larger community that is supplying and exporting and refining and all the things that this plant can do. You want to be in part, you want to join that economic flow to the outside worlds, and being able to provide quality product is the basis of what Charles is trying to do here, is to get people to understand that this isn't some fly-by-night thing. This is a very serious business. Billions of dollars have been invested in the marijuana industry in the United States and will continue to be. And as it grows, big industry is looking, as you can even see through what's happening with Barbados, is bigger industries are coming in to affect changes. And again, it's incumbent on the local community to be engaged and be asking the right questions. And Charles has started that process for anybody that's serious about doing this. The right questions are: how do I bank? How do I find property? How do I get engaged? And how do I buy insurance if I do this? So it really is important that the community embrace this, and we're really thrilled to be engaged and help in any way we can.
Thank you so much, Daniel. And you have alluded to the success in Colorado financially, economically. And I want to ask Mr. Doyle, what's your final words to entrepreneurs in Barbados, in particular, because that's where you're based, Mr. Doyle. What's your final? What do you say to entrepreneurs who are listening to this program today? You are muted, sir. You're muted. Okay, there you
Sorry?
go.
Okay, great. In terms of advice, though, listen, the landscape, the economic landscape is changing, and we need to recognize that things will happen in the future that we did not anticipate. So certainly, the medicinal cannabis industry was one that we probably would not have conceived of sometime in the past. But if it is an area that individuals are seeking to be involved with, and I think that it is better considering the challenges that they may be faced, that they can look seriously at the formation of working together in a formal way in an effort to participate in the industry. And I think that if that is their desire, that they may reap some benefits in doing so. With the guidance of Charles and others, I think once they recognize that there are individuals of their willing to assist them, that they can seek that support and be guided accordingly. So all in all, the cooperative approach could be a solution to some of the challenges that they're facing. And if they do, then I suspect that the others in the industry will be quite willing to assist them.
Marcia, you're muted.
Thank you so much, and Charles. Can you give us some contact information? How can people get in touch with you who are, entrepreneurs who are listening and they want to get involved? And you don't even have to be an entrepreneur, as you heard of Mr. Reading. It says it's going to touch everybody. It's an industry, the carpenters, and everybody's going to get involved. How can we get in touch with you, Mr. Pyle?
The company's email is ossa.barbados@outlook.com. That's the best place to direct all of the
You said
queries
OSSI dot
dot
Barbados
Barbados, yeah, at outlook.com.
outlook.com.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
We're on all
And
the social media platforms. Our website is pilecom.net. I mean, we should be fairly easily found on the internet. If you do a search for OSSA, you're going to see it. Yes, that is correct. I just wanna to join in closing with what Oriel has said. He has come from a long background of the cooperative movement and the benefits of cooperating. OSSI has basically done the same thing. We call it collaborating, but it's basically the same thing where we have brought together expertise and really were leaders in the industry to provide state-of-the-art solutions. And who we're talking with today are like our technical and logistic. I wouldn't even want to say as logistical. They are technical and administrative partners. We've left off. We not involved in this at this forum would be all the operational guys, the sensor guys out of Israel and out of the US. The local contractors that deal with setting up, building up infrastructure. Everything is there. So all that needs to be done is for people to make contact and have consultation and get the business plans in place. And we know the roadmap to guide them in onboarding into this very exciting and new industry. We really thank you, Marcia, for giving us the opportunity to present these initiatives to a wide audience.
yes. Well, thank you. Thank you so much for being here. I've learned so much thanks to OSSI and FinTech. This has been quite educational as we seek to present solutions to some of the challenges of insurance, banking, raising of capital, compliance, security. And it can all be found in one place. So we say we're going from seed to accounting, and it's all in OSSI. You can find it all right there, OSSI, and it's ossi.barbados@outlook.com for more information. And you can check out, continue to share this live. The live will be on the Marcia Weeks page, Facebook page, and you can continue to share it. and you know, and just let people know all about OSSI and what they're doing here in the Caribbean. Okay, God bless you all. Thank you all for joining. Thank you
Thank you,
so much,
Marcia.
gentlemen. Thank you. It's been a
Thank you.
pleasure. God bless
Been a
you.
pleasure.
Thank you all very
God
much.
bless you. Cheers.
Bye-bye.